Hey everyone, I have a ton of new polling data to share with you about Donald Trump, also both of the political parties. Some of the information about Trump shows that he is underwater in a state that he just won. He's also struggling in another state that he just won, a pretty red state. And also, he has broken another record that really no one aspires to break. So he's Juan in a million. I'm going to call him that, Juan, since he seems to hate Hispanic people so much. Anyway, I will explain all of that in a minute. Before I dive in, please be sure hit the subscribe button below this video. It is free for you. It helps the show tremendously. So here's what's going on with polling. This first one, this is hot off the press, so to speak. This just came out today. CNBC commissioned a poll, and they found that Trump has a 44% approval rating and 51% disapproval rating. So this poll was done between April 9th and the 13th, and Trump's rating on the economy was even worse than his overall approval and disapproval. This is the first time they said that at CNBC, in one of their polls, where Trump has been underwater on the issue of the economy. 43% of respondents approve of his handling of the economy, 55% disapprove. Most importantly, in regard to the economy, Trump has a 23% approval rating with independents. That's it. And he's even losing ground with blue collar workers, which is the bulk of his base. They're still, agreeable. I mean, they still have him in positive territory with that demographic, but their disapproval of his handling of the economy has increased. So not looking good for him. When asked if the economy will improve or worsen over the next year, 49%, a plurality of respondents, said that it will get worse. And in regard to Trump's handling of inflation, 60% disapprove, only 37% approve. So that is basically just his hardcore base. And then the pollster also asked who respondents would vote for if congressional races were held today. 48% said that they would vote for a Democrat and 46% said a Republican. So the tide is turning. The next poll I want to share, it comes from a Republican pollster. They're called Echelon Insights. They conducted a survey in January, and they had Trump's approval rating at 51% back then. His disapproval rating in January was 43. So he had an +8 rating on his approval. When they completed this same survey this month, but they did this between April 10th and the 14th, the numbers shifted dramatically. So Trump's April approval rating is now at 47%, so dropped by 4%. And then his disapproval rating is now 51%. It completely flip-flopped. So his disapproval increased by 8%. Now, you may have noticed the numbers aren't shifting by equal amounts, right? So that would indicate that some of these kind of wait and see type of voters, they're now coming off the sidelines and they're like, yeah, no, I'm officially disapproving of this disaster. And then Newsweek reported that TIPP Insights, they show Trump with a negative 7% approval rating. So this is consistent. I mean, with pretty much every single pollster, it has been -6 to -8. That's also a significant shift, by the way, for this TIPP, and in a very short period of time, because just last month, just in March, Trump was breaking even on his approval rating with them. So the March TIPP poll, it showed Trump with a 50% approval and disapproval. So again, things are shifting and not in his favor. Morning Consult, they also released their findings from their recent poll. This was done April 11th through the 13th. They also show Trump upside down. They have 45% approval, 52% disapproval. So again, 7% underwater. And this seems to be having a negative effect on Republican lawmakers as well, because for the first time in quite a while, in regard to this specific poll, in regard to the Morning Consult poll, Democrats are more popular than Republicans. So as you can see in this graph, Democrats have a 47% favorable rating with Morning Consult, and Republicans are at only 43%. We're also starting to see some erosion in trust regarding specific policy issues. So take a look at this next graph. Democrats are now more trusted to handle foreign policy, taxes, the economy, and trade. That is mind-blowing. I mean, they have not had the benefit of that. They have not been above water and seen their numbers higher than Republicans. I don't even remember the last time. That is a very good sign for Democrats in the midterms. And a University of Massachusetts Amherst poll, they found similar results. So 44% of respondents approve of Trump's presidency, 51% disapprove. So again, another 7% underwater. And as with every other recent poll, he is massively underwater in regard to some very key issues, the ones that help to put him in the White House. So on inflation, 33% approve, 62% disapprove of the way he's handling inflation. On trade, 36% approve, 58% disapprove of his trade negotiations, or if you want to call it that. In regard to jobs, 38% approve, 53% disapprove. It's unreal. And when they asked about foreign affairs, 39% approve, 55% disapprove. That was another one of his best subjects, if you will, one of the best topics for Donald Trump. Everyone's, he's the deal maker. He's going to come in. He's so tough. He's going to show these people. He's going to have all the wars ended in one day, blah, blah, blah. He'll tell them what to do and they'll just bow down. So these numbers have completely flip-flopped from where they were before he took office. And check out the results of the CNBC Heart Research poll. This was shared by Rachel Maddow on MSNBC.
Donald Trump's overall approval rating underwater by 7 points. Do you approve of Donald Trump's handling of foreign policy? By an 11-point margin, we disapprove of him on that. On tariffs, do you approve of Donald Trump's handling of tariffs? No, we do not approve of that by a whopping 16-point margin. Do you approve of Donald Trump's handling of prices? Voters disapprove of Trump's handling of inflation by a 23-point margin. The proportion of Americans who disapprove of Trump's handling of inflation is 60%. The proportion who approve it is just 37%.
So that was from last week. And as I said at the beginning, I mean, things with CNBC are just he's not doing well. There was also a YouGov poll that was done for The Economist, and it shows Trump underwater by 7 points, again, in regard to his handling of the economy. And Trump's overall approval rating has dropped 14 points since he first took office. The Economist said Trump's approval rating also with Hispanic voters, that is now at negative 37. Among Gen Z voters, these are, people 30 and under, he is at negative 25% approval. Those are two groups that really swung in his favor in 2024. He also has a negative approval rating in all 6 of the swing states that he just flipped last year. So Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. And a poll that was conducted by Meredith shows Trump with a negative 15% approval rating in North Carolina, another state that he won last year. He won it in all three of his elections. Meredith's February poll of North Carolinians, they had Trump underwater by 2%. So still, he was underwater, but, not that bad, 2% within the margin of error. As of this month, as of April, he is at 41% approval, 56% disapproval, 15% underwater in just a few months. And 60% of North Carolina respondents said that they're unhappy with the direction of the country. And then check this out. 58% of the poll respondents said that immigrants who are being deported deserve the same due process afforded to American citizens. So this is an issue that Democrats should absolutely be pressing on. There's been a lot of talk among especially establishment types and these idiots who charge absurd and obscene amounts of money to tell you what you should and shouldn't say as a candidate. They're all, clutching their pearls over whether or not Trump's abuse of deportation power is a winning argument given his high approval rating on immigration. They need to make a more nuanced approach to this issue, no doubt. But this is something that they should be talking about, because while the public is generally in favor of deporting dangerous immigrants, they are not happy about Trump exceeding his authority or Trump violating the Constitution, and especially not about him ignoring court orders. So the Democrats just need to be smart about how they frame this and explain how it could affect other people. It goes back to what I've said before. If you study marketing, it's all about, what's in it for me, WIIFM. You need to make it specific to other people, and especially when it comes to Republicans, and explain to them how it will affect them, since that's what they seem to care about the most, and not make it about Kilmer Abrego Garcia specifically. We need to explain to people giving Trump this unchecked power endangers all of us, including MAGA voters. The next Democratic administration might not look too kindly on what's going on right now. And they might go, oh, I get that power too. Oh, so I can just flout the rules, flout the courts. I can do whatever I want, deport Proud Boys. Or I guess they're not Proud Boys anymore since they had their name taken away. But you get the drift. You catch what I'm floating. Catch what I threw you. Anyway, and there are certain moral issues that need to be fought, whether or not they're politically popular. I'm sorry, but just do the right thing. Fight the good fight. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Just stop listening to the consultants. Stop listening to the James Carvilles of the world, and do what your base wants. As I have said so many times, Carville hasn't been right about a single damn thing since the 1990s. So anyway, as I mentioned before, Trump set a new polling record. This is the second time that he set a polling record in the past 3 months. So check out what Harry Enton had to say. This was on CNN in regard to Trump's approval rating among independent voters specifically.
Well, Donald Trump has broken his own record here. He now holds, in this particular term, the worst ever net approval rating at this point in a presidency among independents at, get this, minus 22 points. Let's take a look at the economy. Minus 29 points. That's a 30-point drop in under 3 months of time. Let's take a look here at tariffs. 57% say no, he doesn't even have a clear plan for what he should be doing with tariffs and trade.
So yeah, not exactly what you want to be known for. And then this last bit of polling data, this is a really damning sign for Trump and Republicans. Although Trump still holds a positive approval rating in Ohio, which is another state he won in all three elections since 2016, 3% of Ohio voters told YouGov pollsters that they regret their vote in 2024. Now, not all of them were Trump voters. Of that 3%, three-quarters had voted for Trump. So the majority are Trump voters. The rest were primarily people who voted for third-party candidates. So I would venture a guess they're not happy with Trump either. And they're now realizing, wow, I contributed to this by voting third party. I'm responsible as well. And according to the Columbus Dispatch news outlet, quote, those who regretted their vote tend to be younger, non-white, and consider themselves to be an independent. Yeah. And I know people are going to say, 2 to 3% of regret, that's not a big deal. Do the math. 3% equates to more than 2.3 million people who conceivably, potentially regret voting for Trump. That is not an insignificant number. He won by a very, very small amount. I mean, it was a minuscule win in 2024. And all of these people who have regrets, they have friends, they have family, they were just with them over the Easter holiday. How many of them are talking about it? And how many more people now will feel like they have permission to break with Trump when, people in their circle of influence are now turning on him? So this is a good thing. It may not be, a landslide like we're looking for, but this is a good thing. It's moving in the right direction. And again, I point out, we are less than 100 days into his presidency. It's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. Anyway, guys, I will let you know when I hear more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.